I just got back from hosting my Spain bird photography workshop, where I spent over 40 hours sitting in bird photography hides. And during that time, I made a lot of mistakes. Mistakes that cost me some really great shots. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the biggest mistakes I made so that when you go into your next hide session, you're fully prepared and you actually come home with the shots you were hoping for. So let's jump in. One of the first mistakes I made was actually ruining the quality of my images without me even knowing it. The hide I was shooting in had two-way glass, so you can see the birds, but they can't see you. But because you're shooting through glass, there are a few things you have to get right. The biggest one is distance from the glass. You want to get your lens as close to the glass as possible. If you're too far back, you can start to get reflections and glare, and that will absolutely kill your image quality. A good rule of thumb that I found was if I could fit 2 fingers between my lens and the glass, I was probably too far away. I don't want to be able to fit completely 2 fingers between my lens and the glass. Now, because you're getting this close, you also want to remove anything extra on the front of your lens. That means ditch the lens hood and take off any filters. Because otherwise you're basically shooting through your filter and then through the glass, and that's just too many layers between you and the subject. And every layer you add has the potential to reduce sharpness. So if you want the cleanest, sharpest image possible, lens close to the glass, no filters, no lens hood. Mistake number 2 was not being ready when the action actually happened. And this is a big one. Because here's the reality of hide photography. You can sit there for hours and nothing happens. But when it does happen, it happens fast. So if you're not ready, you miss it. One thing I learned very quickly was to have everything ready to go before the bird even shows up. That means have spare batteries already out and within reach. Have your camera set up and ready to go. And make sure you're paying attention, because even something as simple as digging through your bag for a battery can cost you a shot. Another big one, your phone. It's really easy to get bored and just start scrolling. And that's okay for a little bit, but if you're sitting there fully locked into your phone, you're gonna miss things. And I may be guilty of that. I completely missed birds landing because I wasn't paying attention in the moment. Another thing I noticed is that it's really easy to just stare straight ahead, but birds don't always come and land directly in front of you, right in front of the hide. You need to be checking left, right, and in the corners. While I was in Spain, we had a little bustard that would come to the hide. We named it Houdini because we would never see it arrive. It would just appear out of nowhere. And almost every time, he would show up on the far right side. So if we weren't checking that corner, you missed him completely. So this mistake really just comes down to being ready, staying aware, and don't zone out. Mistake number 3 was using the wrong settings at the wrong time. When you first get into the hide, you want to be set up for action. Because most birds, when they arrive, they fly in, except for Houdini. For example, in the bearded vulture hide, the bird would come in from high up, scouting the area, and sometimes you could actually see its shadow before you saw the bird. So if your shutter speed was too slow in that moment, you were gonna miss the shot. So what I started doing was this. I'd start with a fast shutter speed for action, then I adjust once the bird lands. So when the bird is flying in, fast shutter speed, ready for movement. Then once it lands and things slow down, you can bring your shutter speed down, focus more on portraits, work on composition. So think of it like this. Action first, portraits second. If you do it the other way around, you're more likely to miss the most exciting parts. Mistake number 4 was making too much noise, or sometimes just overthinking it. When you're in a hide, even though the birds can't see you, they can still hear you. So things like shifting around too much, adjusting gear loudly, constant movement can definitely alert or spook the birds. So I always try to make a point to move slowly, stay quiet, and use silent shutter when possible. Now that said, don't stress too much about it because it really depends on the environment that you're shooting in. A lot of the hides I was shooting in was near farmland, so the birds are used to machinery, vehicles, and background noise. And because of that, camera shutters weren't a huge issue. But if you're in a real quiet environment, like a forest, noise can matter a lot more. So the key takeaway here is just be mindful of noise, but understand your environment. And actually in one of the hide sessions with the guests, I I knocked over a whole bunch of stuff. I tilted my gimbal forward and it hit against the glass. At the same time, there was a fan in the hide and I whacked that down. So it happens. You make some noise, you're fidgeting, you're moving around, but the birds still came. When I did all that, it didn't even scare the birds away, but just be mindful that it can. And mistake number 5 was not fully understanding the reality of hide photography. And that reality is it's not always constant action. You're not going to be shooting nonstop for 4 to 8 hours. Most of the time it's pretty slow. Sometimes really slow for hours. You might just sit there for hours with nothing happening. And when you first arrive in the morning, it can be pitch dark. So even if the birds show up early, the light might be terrible. I had this happen with a buzzard. It showed up right away, but the light was so bad that the shots just weren't even usable. And it's frustrating in that moment. But the key is just patience. Because what usually happens is the light improves, the bird might leave, but then they usually come back as the light is getting better. And that's when you get your best opportunities. So instead of just forcing poorly lit shots and getting frustrated, just be patient and wait for the right conditions. And one thing that really helped me was just bringing an earbud and just listening to an audiobook. Right now I'm listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl. Highly recommend the audiobooks. The voice acting is awesome. I started it like 2 months ago. I'm already on book 6. Love it. And I found it helped pass the time, but you could still stay aware of what was going on around you. You're still looking around, you're still able to see, you're just able to, you got a little bit of entertainment in your ear for those long, dull moments, which is way better than being fully distracted on your phone. All right, now that you made it to the end of the video, I just want to share with you some quick bonus rapid fire tips with you to help make your next hide photography session way better. And the first is to get comfortable. You're going to be sitting there for a long time. So wear comfortable clothes and take your shoes off. Unless you're in a shared hide and your feet are questionable, then maybe keep them on. Next is avoid wearing white. White is one of the easiest colors that can actually be seen through the glass. So wear darker clothing, and if you have a white lens, consider using a cover. Next is to make sure you're using a tripod and a gimbal. This makes a huge difference for stability, tracking birds, and just the overall shooting experience. And if you've never used a tripod or a gimbal setup, I've actually got a full video on how to set that up, and I'll link it up here for you. Another one, bring a second camera if you can. I was mainly shooting with my Z8 and the 180 to 600 millimeter on a gimbal, but I also had a Z6 III with either a 24 to 120 or a 70 to 200, and I'd keep it right between my legs ready to go. That way I could quickly grab it and get wider shots in different perspectives and compositions. And finally, follow the rules of the hide. Every hide is different and they all have their own guidelines. So just be respectful of the space and the people running it. If you want more tips like this, I've got a free bird photography settings cheat sheet ebook that you can download using the link in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.